Hello, hello. Welcome to the Helpful Home Inspector Show. And yes, I am not Matt. He is already on his way to the cabin for a week of fun and games with the family. And I stayed behind because I have a little bit more work to do. So I get to hold the fort down here at home while he gets to escape to the cabin and do some maintenance before everybody joins us up there. And I'm fortunate enough to be joined with Tim Andrusak, our very good friend. He and I have known each other for a very, very, very long time, giving each other a hard time for many, many years.
Many years.
His wife and I actually were in 4-H together.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, and did lots of leadership camps and trips together, which was fantastic. And then fortunately we hooked up again after working with each other and that kind of thing. And now we're both doing different things, but we still stay in contact, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. Keeping me company. And,
Absolutely.
Badger me.
You thought I was Matt, but I've got more hair.
There you go. So the topic that he and I are going to talk about most of the time today is about owning a second home. And I guess the one thing that our families definitely enjoy is just escaping our everyday metropolitan Milwaukee life and escaping to enjoy Mother Nature.
Could be a great thing. Great thing.
It is. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But as always, Matt challenged Mrs. Helpful Home Inspector a little bit to make sure that I still hit the segments that we normally hit. So we're going to start with the defect of the week. And fortunately, I am NRPP certified for the team. I'm certified for the team to basically do all the radon measurements, set up the radon tests and all that kind of stuff. And if you don't know anything about radon naturally comes up from the ground. So it is naturally all around us. We're breathing it in and that kind of stuff. It's only harmful when it's getting into our homes. And once it's in our homes, there's a process that it goes through and it actually decays. And those decay particles stick to carpeting and the furniture that we're in. And it's those decay particles that we can breathe in and then they attach to our lungs, which is the bad thing. It's almost, it's one of the leading causes of lung cancer, especially for non-smokers. It's similar to being exposed to secondhand smoke. All right. The EPA actually states that any level that's above 4.0 picocuries is harmful. And so you need to get a mitigation system in your home.
Correct.
And that mitigation system, what it allows us to do is that if the gas is getting in, so if the measurement is high, the gas is getting in, but it needs a way of escaping. So that mitigation system will actually suck the air and allow it to escape from your home. And most of the time when a mitigation is installed, it's below that 2.0 level. You'll never really get it to 0 because radon gas is always coming in, but you should get your home tested probably every 2 to 3 years because soil settles, cracks happen in the basement floor, and that's pretty much how it gets into our home. But it just has to have a way of escaping.
So, I mean, that is an important thing because we came into a house that did not have a radon mitigation system in it. And people lived in it for numerous years. Yeah. We had it tested. You actually did the test.
Yeah, we did.
And the radon level was high. Yeah. And so we, before purchasing the house, we insisted upon a radon mitigation be put in and installed.
Yeah. And it's low now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah, so it definitely helps, especially if you're non-smokers, because it is just like breathing in secondhand smoke, and it is one of the leading causes of lung cancer. So whether you own your home and you don't have a mitigation system and you want it tested or you're looking at purchasing a home, there is a contingency that you can get put in. Just give us a call, HSH Property Inspection, and we'll be glad to come out and do your test, as we did for other people as well. So, but get your radon levels tested. Just make sure you and your family are safe. All right, next segment that we are going to get into is Save a Buck. And what we're talking about is remote thermostats.
The joy.
Yes. Well, and honestly, I enjoy it most. So we're going to kind of stay on this topic as having a second home. When we're traveling up to the cabin, to be able to go onto our phone and turn the heat up before we get there is so much nicer,
That
right?
is nice.
Exactly.
Yep. We do it we do it with the heating, and we also do it, with the air conditioning. Like now when it's, ungodly hot out, before we leave, we'll turn on the air conditioning and then set that to a desired temperature, a few hours before we get there. And usually by the time we get there, the house is nice and cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, it should be 70 degrees by the time he gets up
you
there.
go.
He texted me a while ago.
One of the great benefits.
It definitely is, because it can be hot. You have that home, closed up and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely. But saving $1. And then when nobody is at the cabin, the way you can save the dollar is when nobody's there to enjoy it, why pay for the air conditioning? Right. Or in the winter, I'm not going to pay for the heat, so we turn it down to about 55. That way you don't have additional problems.
There is a catch to that.
Oh, tell me more.
We did find out with ours when we first installed, the Ecobee is what we have.
Okay.
And we thought, 50 degrees would be, plenty warm enough. Everybody's thinking, 32 degrees, just stay above that and so forth. Well, we found out that some of your appliances, older appliances, specifically a refrigerator / freezer, works on temperature. And if you go below, which is what we did at 50 degrees, needless to say, we came into a house a few weeks later that was a little bit smelly, to say the least, because the temperature dropped below, the freezer and refrigerator shut off because of that setting or, whatever it is.
Oh, no.
Obviously, I know a lot of people that have, refrigerators that they keep in their garages and so forth.
Yeah.
And, obviously when it's warm, it's not an issue.
Right.
When it's cold, do they keep them on? Probably not. But just something to look at if you, have a place that you go to, for example, and you keep a refrigerator or you keep the temperature lower. Do I have older appliances? Might this be something that's an issue?
I did not know that, because we haven't, but you know what? We have a fridge out in the garage and we unplug it for the winter.
For the winter.
Up at the cabin.
Right.
So was that the one that ended up being a problem for you, or was it the one inside
No,
the house?
it was the one in the house, because we turned the temperature down to 50 degrees.
Okay.
And apparently 55 is its magic number.
Oh.
Was its magic number.
Well, maybe that's why Matt's never had us go below 55.
Well, you learn something.
You learn. I did
not
know
that.
Live and learn the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah. And anybody who's ever had to deal with that odor and so forth, it's something that's very difficult to get out of your. I still, every time I walk in the side door, I can still catch a little hint of it, and I don't know if that'll ever go away. It was just in the refrigerator. We got rid of the refrigerator. I still, for some odd reason,
it's all psychological. Too.
Yeah,
it's all psychological.
I know.
Yeah, because I was going to say that fridge is no longer in that hallway, is it?
There is one there, but that one's on its way out too.
Oh yeah, well that happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we go through appliances.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. So for save $1, be careful of the temperature. Don't go below 55 for sure. Maybe even keep it at 57.
I would say that would be your magic number.
55 to 57. So that way for your appliances for sure. And that will definitely save you $1. So do that for yourself, and that'll keep your costs and your monthly utilities down. All right. Co-host question.
Okay.
Good. All right. So obviously we've lived in Wisconsin all our lives,
sure.
right? And we've watched many Packer games together, Wisconsin Badger games together, and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I know this, but you have always been a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Yeah. Like true and hard Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Sure.
Tell me more. Why Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I'm a product of the 70s, growing up in the 70s, but, probably the late 70s is when I started catching on, and at that point in time, if you follow football and so forth, Pittsburgh Steelers were a pretty good team.
They were.
So I kind of followed them. I liked their team. I liked their players. I liked how they went about things. They were a hard work team, a no nonsense type of team, and I just kind of attached to that philosophy, and so I enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed watching them play. I enjoyed watching them, beat other teams, many teams. So I enjoyed that,
Yeah.
and it was kind of the work philosophy that, or how they went about their business, that kind of drew me to them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much been it.
Well, and that sometimes is our draw to different companies and organizations as well. It's
Absolutely.
their work ethic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Customer service goes a long way.
Right.
So when you talk about any type of business and
Yep.
that kind of stuff. So interesting. That's why Pittsburgh Steelers. All right.
Yep.
All right. I'm still go Packers.
Okay.
All right. That's okay though.
Well, that's probably the game I enjoy the most is Pittsburgh and a Packer game, because then it doesn't really matter to me who wins.
Yeah, we
I'm
did the
good-
preseason.
I'm good either way.
We did. You did, and I can't remember. Were you wearing? So we took you and Sherry to the preseason game last year. It was
Yeah.
Pittsburgh against Packers because we knew you were a Pittsburgh fan. I can't remember. Were you wearing Packers gear or Pittsburgh?
I was wearing
stuff?
Packers gear, but there
That's
was a
what I thought.
game prior to that, a regular season game that my wife and we went, and I was wearing Steelers gear.
That's what I thought. I'm like, I've
The
seen pictures
Steelers
of you.
made a good play, and so I stood up and way to go, Steelers! And needless to say, a gentleman behind me told me to sit down in so many different ways. So he just wasn't having a good moment, but
Yeah.
I was.
Well, there you go. You got.
So-
Hey, that's the fun part of being football, right?
Right,
and
right.
and getting involved in the game and that kind of stuff. Yeah, we are big football people around here. Raising boys and that kind of stuff. But we do the fantasy football thing.
Yeah, no, not so
Yeah.
much into that.
No, that's okay.
You got to have a lot of if you got your time on your phone and stuff to do that kind of stuff. I just never had an interest.
Yeah, it gives us something to talk about.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
and a little healthy competition is
Oh yeah.
always good.
Oh,
right?
I get it. I get it.
It keeps us in touch with some friends and some
Absolutely.
family that we don't always get to see. So fantasy football is big
Yep.
around
Yeah,
here.
I can definitely see the competitiveness into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, all right. So Pittsburgh Steelers and I believe Pittsburgh and Packers are playing in November.
They are this year.
Yeah,
they are this year. We are going on another trip, and otherwise I wanted to go because it's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's on your bucket list, right?
It is on my bucket list. I'd love to go for a Packer Steelers preseason. I also like the Pittsburgh Pirates
Oh,
baseball team,
All right.
and the stadium is real close, and I'd love to possibly catch a Steelers preseason game and then a Pirates game at the end of their season.
oh yeah.
That would
if
be
you
an
can time that well.
ultimate weekend. But someday it'll line up. The stars will line up. We'll
They
go.
will. They will. Maybe we'll
We'll
do
go.
that on our camping retirement thing, right?
Oh, hey,
Okay,
there we go.
There we go. All right, awesome. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to roll into our main topic, and our main topic is owning a second home. Second home is always good to have at times because it does allow us to escape reality and kind of get away and enjoy a different area of the state or wherever you are. But it does have some drawbacks as well. So we're going to talk about the benefits and the drawbacks and all that kind of stuff of owning a second home. So should we start with the benefits or the
Sure.
drawbacks? Which one?
Sure. Well, we get the positive right away.
All right, let's go to the positives. So
I do think the positive outweigh the negative.
definitely start us off.
You may hit on this one probably a little bit more because I know you're the numbers person. There is something to be said about owning another piece of property and then building up equity in that property and then increase value. So I'll let you. I won't take your thunder because
No,
that might be
that's
something on your list. For me, it is a place to get away to. It is something that you can put time and energy into, work into, and you can reap the benefits of that. Depending upon what kind of piece of property that you purchase, where you purchase, these are all things that play into it. But definitely benefits. You certainly accumulate a lot more friends.
Oh yeah.
When you have a second home, especially if it's around any kind of water.
Yeah.
You accumulate more friends. Not to say that you wouldn't have them as friends. It's just that people are more interested in coming to visit, which is fine. And that's the way it should be. It's like we talked about, though. It's definitely nice to get away from where you work, and do everything else and find some time to relax. I know I'll be honest. For me, I find it a little bit more difficult to relax.
Yes.
For
you
me,
do.
my personality is that there's always something that needs to be done.
Yes.
And
You and Matt are very similar in that.
there's always something
there's
that
always
needs
a
to be
project.
done, and it's just how pressing is it, and I usually like to get to it before it's pressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that can sometimes cut into your enjoyment of, that extra piece of property and, being in the water and doing all the things around the water and everything associated with it.
Yeah. Now, what's unique about your cabin is you guys are on a body of water that there is no motor.
Right.
Right.
Right. It is
motorboats?
it's a smaller lake. I believe it's in the neighborhood of 20 to 26 acres. I think it is.
Okay.
And depending upon, it is spring fed. So, depending upon the season, like this year, I know it's down with the weather that we've had, but in past years, it's been way up.
Oh, yeah.
For the last
Like
couple.
Crouching up on your backyard.
Yes. I mean, not so much on me versus some of my neighbors. Yes.
Yeah.
Where it's pretty much swallowed their nice decks and stuff that they've, on the other side of the lake where they've built down to the water because it's mainly a hill.
Gotcha.
And it's basically overtaken their beautiful decking and stuff. Yeah. It is down this year, but that's fine. Redirect me where you were going.
Oh, no, I just was saying that, having that water and stuff and escaping the life. And I know when we went to your place, you had the paddle boats. And, just the different things that you get to
you were talking
enjoy
about
when we escape, right? So you get to go fishing. I mean, very rarely. Like when I'm home, we enjoy fishing.
Right.
And we've got plenty of places around here, Pike Lake, we can go fishing, but we don't take the time to do it.
Right.
When we're up north, that's one of the things that we'll take a couple hours and go
I think
fishing.
your question was, about the no motors. That is something.
the no motors.
When you're studying, where you want to be and what you're looking for, that is something to look at. You want to be in a big place, a big lake. You get all those other things that come along with it. You're on a smaller lake. We're on a smaller, pretty much a private lake. There are no motors allowed. If you're much older and you're unable to get around by yourself, you can use a trolling motor, electric.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So, I mean, and it is nice, not to hear that noise that some of you may be hearing on your lakes.
Yeah, or the jet skis and that kind of stuff. We don't have that. We have, we're on a river. And sometimes it's busy depending on the weekend, and sometimes it's not. Like you can't see anybody. We're in the Boundary Waters. So,
and the nice thing is, too, is
nice.
that if our lake is too small for you and you own a boat, you can take your boat and you can go 10 minutes down the road and you can be in a nice big lake.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily get on the Wisconsin River in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you want to do, it's there. It's an option for you.
Well, there you go. All right. So let's because we detoured a little bit, but the benefits, right?
Yeah.
Benefits is definitely escaping from everyday life. I
Right.
guess I'll hit on because you kind of. You said the one about the investment.
Right.
Yes. And okay, so I started 30 years teaching and that kind of thing. And a business teacher is where I am at heart and going back to being a business teacher. So having the investment of having a second home, it helps. And a lot of times people will buy their home and it's a huge investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have our home, but we also have a second home as well. And
Right.
and eventually, I mean, Matt's and my plan is that's going to be our retirement location.
Right.
We'll sell this place and that'll be our home base, which is
Yeah,
kind of
and
nice.
we kind of have the
So-
same thoughts online with
Yeah.
that. There are some things to look at prior to that, but
Yeah.
that's a little ways down the road.
Well, exactly. We're still a little young. We
Yeah, we're a little
we
young
have a
yet.
little bit of time still, hopefully.
Yes.
But yeah, it is a good investment for you, and and if things if things take a detour, it is one of those things that if you need to sell it, you can sell it, and you probably will turn it around and make a profit on it, right?
I mean, right now,
So-
and you'd ask Matt, I mean, the housing market's a pretty big thing right now.
Yeah. There's
So,
not much supply, so
And if you have made improvements like you and I have, those properties will go and they will sell for premium dollars.
Yep, they will. So they're definitely a good investment.
Yes. So the investment thing is there, the place to be and so forth. How about some other ones though?
Let let me see.
Anything else you can come up with?
Well, this I brought up the last time Matt and I were together is I don't have to pack.
Right.
Like literally don't have to pack up anything because it's literally a second home. Like,
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I have clothes there and I have clothes at home. So, but at the same time, I literally, if I want to hit the road, I can. I don't have to. And let me tell you, there have been some days where I'm like, can I just keep going up on 41 and just call Matt and say, honey, I'm not coming home to, I'm just going to the cabin.
Our family scenarios are very much similar. There are many days when my wife says the same thing. And she's going to do it Thursday. You're going to do it tomorrow. She's going to go up and, honestly, other than taking the dogs, because, without kids, we do have our four-legged kids, and oh my, do they look forward to that with a passion. So, just being able to get the dogs in the car and, take your computer, laptop, if you even need it, want it, and then away you can go because, all of, over time, we have accumulated the things, that allow it to be basically like going to our own home because all the amenities that we have there, yes. Yeah. Did we start out that way? No. I mean, we were hauling anything. Okay, do we need this? Do we need this? Do we need this? Yes. That's how it started. Yes. Yeah. At this stage, though, we've reached the point where we pretty much have, if I want to watch TV on the big screen, I got to, we have that,
those amenities that we've added, but I think it's those amenities that we've added that probably allow us to relax every once in a while. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I find time to relax. I didn't want you to think I was, geez, we got to do this. We got to do this. No, I usually go up there, I get my work done, and then I try to relax.
Yeah, which is good. And that's what, sharing the experience with family and friends. I think we hit on that. Yep. I mean, we've got the Mains, they come up every year, and we've been able to watch their daughters grow up from, little on, which is exciting. And, with them living in La Crosse and us living in Hartford, we get to see them at least once a year, which is kind of nice. They meet us up at the cabin, and we get a couple of days of just fun and sun and playing around and and doing that stuff. Actually, the girls, they let us, it was raining one time that they were up there. So Matt came up with a project that he had wanted a Bigfoot in the woods. So we have a North Woods scenario, and we always kind of wanted a silhouette of Bigfoot kind of walking in the woods. The main girls actually helped him build that Bigfoot that we put up in the woods with them, because it was a rainy weekend. Like, he's like, okay, what are we going to do with the girls? And so they got to do that with us. So it was
Matt
fun.
is unique in that way. He can come up with something when everything else seems to be lost.
Yeah, it was fun. It is definitely
absolutely
fun. Yeah. And then we talked about future home for retirement as well.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. I know we have both shared our ideas. Personally, as we get into our older years, looking at possibly going from there and traveling a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, kind of hooking up and doing it that way, get out of the cold, come here for the heat like this time of the year. And otherwise, when the snow starts to fly, out of town, you can go out west, you can go south.
Yeah, we actually we hit the camper show together.
Yes.
So the idea is that we're going to have campers, and that way we can travel.
Yes.
And kind of be snowbirds, but not have a destination necessarily where we have to go.
Right.
We can be mobile. And we've talked about, hooking up at different campgrounds and that kind of stuff on our travels together and that kind of thing.
It kind of makes me think about a big thing that, you want to be thinking about, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage of a second home is the communication process and the thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, and I've never asked you specifically about it, but I know for us, for looking at a second home, it was a several year process.
Oh, yeah.
Where we kind of got in our head, what we wanted, what we were looking for. And then you sit there and, you search, where you want to go to. And then for me, it was in my downtime, looking on the computer, okay, are there new places that are for sale up there? Okay, maybe we go take a look now. And it was several years of doing that before we found something that we were interested in and made an offer on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's that process of, getting it set in your head, what you're looking for. But husband and wife, we've talked about what we want to do.
Right.
We've talked about, just like we've talked about the, RVing and so forth. And, we've talked about, what we were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to, I mean, when you have a partner and, you all have short-term goals, but you also need those long-term goals,
right.
And something to strive for. And, you guys hit the market in trying to find your second home location. Whereas Matt and I inherited the, cabin from my parents. When my dad passed away, Mom couldn't handle having the two homes and didn't have the heart to sell it at that time.
Yep.
So agreed to take on that second home. And we've done some things to it, and we've updated it, and we hope that Dad's looking down upon us, going, "You did a great job," and that kind of
absolutely.
stuff. And we'd say we probably are, because we always see the dragonflies, and that's the symbol of
sure.
Dad. So he comes to visit us every once in a while. We're up there, which is good. But
good.
Kept it in the family and doing those different things with the kids and that kind of stuff, which is exciting. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thinking ahead, though, process, too, that also works with, one of your other questions about owning a second home, and that is, things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Because you may purchase, you may come upon an inheritance, and there are always going to be things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Making a list, having a list, just like Santa Claus, checking it twice, prioritizing. What needs to be done, what has to be done, what I wish could be done.
Well,
those are different things.
That might lead us into the drawbacks, maybe at this point.
Okay.
Oh, comment in the chat. All right, let's take a look. What's the comment? Tim, you're looking really cute, it says. Can she do this? Can I do the show every week? I'm not sure about that one. What's everything? Okay, unique is one way of putting it. Okay, what's the comment you're asking us to see? We'll have to check this good. This is really...
That was the comment.
Oh, that was the comment that Tim was cute. I gotcha. All right.
Well, it doesn't take people long to figure things out. Thank you very much.
There you go. All right. So heading back. So we got the drawbacks. Lead us into the drawback. There's lots of benefits to having a second home and planning for the future and that kind of stuff. And let's be realistic. Owning a second home is got its drawbacks. I think I hit it on the one time that I co-hosted with Matt that, 10 years owning a second home. I'm like, wow, it's a little bit more work than sometimes than I anticipate, because like you said, there's always a project to do. Like Matt went up early; he's purposely went up there because the grass has got to get cut. And I did escape up there with Sam last weekend, so I actually cleaned the inside of the whole cabin. So Matt's working on the outside before everybody arrives, right? Because that stuff has to be done.
Yep. I mean, there are disadvantages, sure.
Yeah.
You go through projects and things that you would like to see done. And those projects, whether you're doing them yourself or whether you're having someone do them, they have a cost associated with them.
Yeah, that expense.
So
you,
like I said, you prioritize, what would I like? What would I need? What do I have to have? And you prioritize, and when you're going to go about that, but you also have to, because it is a second home, you also have to look at, things that I need at home as well, and which comes first and what needs to be done first. I mean, last year the house needed painting at home. It needed to be done.
Right.
So that was priority over everything else, and that got done.
Yeah.
I think it's now 5 or 6 years ago now where we didn't have any major projects at home, where we were able to put the money aside to remove decking from the side door entryway and put in the walkway with composite, made it look really nice, had the work done for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big cost, but now that it's done, wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and that composite, the composite versus doing wood when it rots and that kind of stuff. Yeah, we did the same thing. We did that.
There's more cost up front, yes. But
the upkeep later on.
Right.
Because we both have had decks where you got to paint them or stain them and that kind of stuff.
Reseal or
more maintenance.
You got to sit there for hours with the pressure washer, do that kind of thing. And it's nice not to have to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you got the
Yeah,
maintenance.
there's a little more cost up
grass.
front, yes.
Yep, cutting the grass and upkeep of roof, mechanicals, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I also put like expenses of the utilities and taxes.
Sure.
You still got taxes. It's a property. It's an investment. So we still have taxes, property taxes for both. And I work out with the accountant, what's going to be, should I pay both taxes for the year and take those as a write-off, or do I do one this year, one, and then double up for next year.
Right.
How does that work out to our benefit?
And thankfully I live with a financial genius like yourself, and she was able to get it where, she paid off that second property, which is what I assume that yours has no mortgage attached.
No.
So ours no longer has a mortgage attached, but prior to that, having a mortgage, that was a chunk of money, every month that you had to, in addition to setting aside, money to pay your taxes at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So now, it's just setting aside the money to pay your taxes because it no longer comes out of your
escrow for your mortgage.
Right.
Correct. You get, and that's true.
So
like every month,
I
put money aside into our savings account, knowing in December I have to write that check for the taxes. Much less, though, I will say, so having a second home north, like my taxes, and we actually own 2 properties, 10 acres of land, is only a third of, not even, of what we pay here.
Sure.
In property taxes.
I believe ours is a little bit more than half.
Yeah.
And it is something that's different. Yeah. There are some other differences. For example, we have a well and septic here. That the state has us have pumped and checked every single year. Oh. I found out for only one reason, only because there's a pump that pumps air into the system. Oh. And it's outside. And because the people who built it put that pump in, because I said to him, I said to the guys doing the work, I said, well, up north you only have to have this done every 3 years.
Yeah.
And there we don't have that air pump pumping air into it. He said because you have that air pump pumping it in,
you got to double check and make sure it's working
every year. And there is an alarm that is with it, so I can tell if it has failed. Where now I know what would be going on, but because it has that, I have to get my septic checked every season.
Okay, so that's something that you want to look into.
Up north, it's a little bit cheaper cost for us. Down here in the metro area, it's a little bit bigger cost.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. It's a give and take. Everything, different places have different costs associated with them.
Yeah, and that's, when you're looking, if you do want to do a second home and that kind of stuff, that's that investigation part.
Yep.
Which type of community do you want to be in? What do they offer?
Usually when I would, when we were doing our search, I would go and if there were neighbors out, I would usually go and ask them, hey, how do you like it here? What are the things that, and I would do this pretty much with every property. If there was somebody out there, I was out there talking to them to ask.
And they're going to know the best,
right?
And they're probably going to be more honest with you,
right?
Than anybody you can.
And I would ask them point blank: are there other drawbacks that I really need to know about before we get into this process? Or
interesting,
but it once again, it's we would never make any rash decisions or immediate decisions, but we took our time with it, and it was a process.
Yeah, well, it's paid off.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
In selecting the one that you did.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold off on that one. Location, I did put location can hinder quick access when there's problems occurring.
I know
the heater breaks.
Yeah.
Your cabin is only like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Ours is 3.5 hours
right.
away. And so if that heater breaks in the winter, and that's why we went with the remote thermostat, because we'll get a warning if that thermostat goes wrong. Okay, there can be repercussions because then
Sure.
the pipes can burst, especially if it's in
Absolutely.
the winter and that kind of stuff. We're fortunate enough that in Florence County, we've gotten to know enough people that honestly, we put a lockbox on the house, and we'll just change the code if we give somebody, access into it. But we have a lockbox code with the key just in case that happened. And it did happen. We ended up having to have an HVAC person go
Yes.
in there and check it out. And luckily, he caught it in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can be
there are
repercussions.
there are benefits. Like you said, yours is 3.5, mine is only an hour and a half. So, with that sensor, we do get a warning. There are other things besides your heating and cooling that you can have issues with. If a pipe does burst, or for example, if you use a water heater, the old traditional tank water heater, if you have issues with that, where it all of a sudden starts to leak, you can have issues. Thankfully, nowadays there are things that you can purchase to. So once again, I'm not the techie. My wife is. She has gone and taken and putting out the sensors down on the floor. So if there's water there, we'll know.
Yep.
And-
And actually we have a segment on that,
Yes.
talking about, with those water heaters and having that alarm and that sensor go off
Yes.
for you.
Now,
because
hopefully,
that
I
can be
never have
bad.
to find out whether it works or not. But
Yeah, we never wanted to.
it is there on the floor. I know that. So.
You haven't had any pipes burst or anything, have you?
No, we have not, and we have not.
Knock on. Yes, it's
Yeah,
wood.
okay.
Matt made this. It's
All right,
wood.
but thankfully, no, we have not, and I'd rather stay away from that. One of the things, though, that we do to alleviate that is, though, we do have, and this for some, this may be a drawback. For me, it's one of those things that it's a necessary thing. We have the HVAC guy come every year.
Yeah, just to double
and-
check.
The furnace is serviced, the air conditioning is serviced, and usually that occurs, late summerish. So we can still catch the air conditioning and we can catch for the heating season.
There you go.
So everything gets done, and some people choose not to. I'm more of along the lines of preventative maintenance. I'd rather catch it before it happens.
Oh yeah, being proactive, especially having the second home and not
Correct.
being there all
Correct.
the time.
Right.
I know Natzik right next to us. They ended up one winter. Their pipes burst.
Oh, geez.
And they came home back in the spring and just they came over because they knew we were up and said, "Hey, do you guys have any problems?" We're like, "No." And so he now has a remote thermostat as well because we're like, "Hey, this is something that we do just to be on the
Yeah.
safe side." So, put him into that
Yep.
realm as well. It
Yep.
just it's beneficial,
Sure.
right? Drawbacks.
Most
security.
things, there's two of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about mortgages. We've talked a little bit about taxes. We've talked about, lawnmowers and maintenance. There's two of everything of that, and you have to plan ahead too for when those lawnmowers and tractors go. That they certainly aren't giving those away at the Home Depot anymore, unless you're me. So there's other things like that. You have two, heating and cooling bills. You have electric bills. So those can be drawbacks, but again, they go along with it.
Yeah. And you really gotta think about the pros and the cons, right?
Correct.
And what's gonna happen. And I know the one thing that we do have as drawback is the security while we're not on site.
Yes.
You can probably talk most about that because unfortunately had a
We did
situation.
have a situation where individuals, it was a ring that was running right in town, and they were, unfortunately, one of the drawbacks of our society is that people, look to take from others if they don't have for themselves. And, in this particular case, they broke into the home up there before we had a security system. And, I'm pretty sure it was a basement window
Yeah.
that they got into that was left unlocked, or they got unlocked somehow. But that was the case. And, you would think some things would be for sure items on a thief's list. And I mean, but it was quick items, quick items that they wanted quick cash for, taking a $500 flat screen TV off of a wall and selling it for $50. They did catch the individuals, which is a good thing, and they have had to pay their debt and pay restitution to us. We do receive a check, every once in a great while.
Wow.
But at least, they're paying for their crime.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we have insurance, right?
Correct.
I mean, insurance costs, that would be another,
yes.
It
As
increases
long
our
as we're gonna
insurance,
talk
but it's
about
there
insurance,
for it. Yeah.
Make sure you choose the right insurance.
Yeah.
Nothing is worse than making a phone call to an insurance company and having them either second guess you or doubt you or have to send someone out that's going to take weeks. And I'm not going to get into, whom and so forth, but I will say that we've had other major carriers that it's been an issue. We've switched to a local company, and that local company has been awesome.
Which is awesome. Who are they? Okay, so customer service. Who are they?
West Bend Insurance.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
Within 2 days of that break-in, we had a check in hand. No questions asked. Make us a list of all the things, what you estimate the cost to be.
There you go.
Because who keeps, who writes down everything, the cost of everything? You may, Tammy, but
well,
Matt,
I do only because of the house fire. Since having the house fire,
right.
Because before having the house fire,
but let's be honest with our audience.
Yeah.
Most
most
do
people don't.
not keep a list of things that they purchased and how much they were.
But to be honest, one thing that you could do just for insurance purposes is make a video. Just walk around with your camera and do each room, and then put that video on a flash drive or something and put it in your safe.
Yep.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
So,
but having and choosing the right insurance, it was huge to us to have a check in 2 days.
Oh yeah.
With no questions asked, we were able to go. I said, do we need to wait before, what if they catch these people? Don't worry about it. Go get the things done. Go make the purchases that you need, recoup the things that you lost. But it was shortly thereafter that we put in a home security system.
Yeah.
And we went with the local telephone company, and they've since, I guess, how would you say it? They've given that up to a private company, I guess would be how you would say it or how you go about it. But still, we have a service where if someone, after we leave, if the alarm breaks, the alarm sounds, the police are notified.
Nice.
And they trust me. I've gone in without setting the alarm off, with setting it off, and the police have come.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah.
And then do you have to prove that you're who you
yes,
are?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Oh, no.
I'm him. Here's my identification. Yes.
No.
Yeah. Telling him, I am Tim. No, that didn't work.
You have to have your ID, definitely.
Yeah.
So having a security system, and that kind of leads into what we were going to talk about, the difference between security systems and security cameras.
Correct.
And being able to have that, because having your home broken in, it's never a good thing.
Right.
And having that second home where you're not there all the time, and having something set up just to deter it. I know Matt and I don't have the system set up. We went with Nest cameras, and honestly, having the Nest camera, it's kind of fun because we can see outside in the front yard, and we've caught bears walking across the black bears walking across the property. We've got plenty of deer and turkey and that kind of stuff. But to even deter, like all of a sudden somebody will drive up the driveway and you're like, who is this? And Matt will snap a picture, and then we can call the police if we think there's a problem.
Are those cameras, are they on Wi-Fi?
They are on Wi-Fi.
Okay,
so I do get nervous if Wi-Fi goes down. Yeah.
And also, are those cameras hardwired into the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's another option too, where you can go on television and you can buy cameras that aren't hardwired that you can put up. They run on batteries.
Yeah.
However, those batteries do go down and wear out, and the more you turn it on to see what's going on in your yard, the more the battery pulls, and so you do have to look at your connection, your Wi-Fi, you do. How good that is. I will say this though. I would bet probably that our Wi-Fi up north is probably a little bit better than what we receive at home here.
Really?
For whatever reason. The technician
Wow.
in our neighborhood, he just says, yeah, there's something messed up in your neighborhood.
Oh, no.
Which I don't doubt,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. And
Wow.
the Wi-Fi up there, again, knock on wood, has been a little bit more reliable.
Well, that's good. See, and out by us, because we're in the we're near the Nicolay Forest,
Right.
way up north.
Yeah.
And Insight knows that there's a cable that needs to be replaced, and they've just been pushing it off and pushing it off. Well, now there's more houses going up on that Brule Landing Road and Brule Landing Dam Road that I think I saw some people, and we stopped last week, and I said, hey, are you guys looking into replacing that? He goes, yeah, we'll probably get around to replacing that cable. Just because our Wi-Fi kept going out.
If you build it, we will come.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's pretty much what's
pretty
happening,
much
because
it.
they're going to have more
Yeah.
paid customers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they definitely need to make sure that it is definitely going to be working.
Most definitely.
So, yeah. So security systems and cameras,
Yep.
but you
There
got to
are-
weigh which one is going to
Right.
work best for you in the area that you're in.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's what that'll come down to.
Yeah.
All
There
right.
are definitely some great things, though, that you can, we have a combination of both. We have the inside plus we have the outside, So it is, a combination.
Yep. All right. One other thing that I know we wanted to talk about was renovations.
Okay.
Because it's definitely different up north than it
Yes.
is here. Being in Milwaukee, there are so
have-
many different contractors
it.
that you can
You got
work
it.
with, and it's unbelievable, right?
Yep.
You get up north and you're like,
You can find some
okay.
slim pickings, and not
Yeah.
only that, here in the Metro Milwaukee area, you will find companies that will easily travel, 30, 45 hour to get to you without a problem.
Yeah.
You go up north, and I've had one where it would be a half an hour ride. Yeah, that's outside of our area. We're not going to come out there. And I found this out with the plumber who originally put our tankless water heater, which, by the way, if you're going to go water heater, if your water heater goes, do yourself a favor. If it's you and one significant other or two significant others, I will tell you this, I will swear by a tankless water heater day and night.
nice. All right.
I
We'll
mean,
have to have it.
Hot water on demand, and, it gives you more than plenty of what you need.
I know that's what Matt wants to put in. So when our water heater goes at the cabin,
yeah.
he's switching it out.
Right.
Like he already said, that's happening.
When we had our issue at the main house, that was because it was still under warranty, so that's why we didn't. It was warranty, home warranty.
Okay.
We were within our first year,
That's,
and so we said, no, you're going to replace it with what we had.
yeah.
And,
Which makes sense.
knock on wood, still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there, some definite
Travel.
things to look at with that.
Yeah, I know Matt, I know, has shared this story before, but when we purchased the property across the land as well and just wanted to get it excavated, just starting on it. I mean, we aren't building anything because lumber costs went up too high and that kind of thing. And so we're putting a hold on that. But just finding an excavator, when we talked with a couple people and just getting them on site to see what we wanted them to do. One, I'll never forget this. He was late and we're like, where is he? Like, he was 2 hours late. Yeah. He finally shows up and he goes, well, the fishing was good. So sorry, I apologize. And we're
you gotta
okay.
note the time of the season up there. It's either fishing or hunting season. One or the other. And
let
sorry,
me tell you.
we'll work around you, but not during that time.
Yeah, the fishing was good. He said he kept catching them, so he wasn't.
That's
coming
worth
in
it,
for
I guess.
And we just laughed because we're like, okay, if that's what he's going to do, is he going to get the job done?
Yeah. You got to really look at it there too, because you're at the mercy, because sometimes there aren't a whole lot of options. And if there are a lot of options, a neighbor might recommend these guys and you may get them and you may be totally dissatisfied with them.
Oh yeah.
And it's, but if you find somebody that does some good work for you, you try to keep going back. That's why I went back to the original plumber.
Yep.
And he did an awesome job for us. Yeah. When we did do our major renovation, when we purchased the house, it was a side-by-side, like what you would see in a mobile home. Yeah. And it had a basement, but the basement was completely unfinished. Yeah. We did all the work. Except for the bathroom and the plumbing. Mm-hmm. And we had a plumber come in and run all the plumbing. Yeah. Thankfully, my father-in-law is an electrician, so that saved me a chunk of money. And
That
he
helps.
loved to renovate and do that kind of stuff. So he basically
good.
did all that work, and
That's
he did a
nice.
heck of a job. I mean, we paid for a painter too. That was another thing. We were just like, oh, okay, I'm done. So
Well, because you only, you know,
You
again,
only have so
when
much
you,
time.
Exactly, because when you go there, it's like, okay, I have time to do this. And I mean, when Matt and I built that deck, and fortunately, he used to own a decking business.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to hire out for the deck.
Right.
We did that all on our own with Matt's
but
expertise.
it's making the
But
time.
let me tell you, it took months
Yes.
to finish that deck.
Right.
We did it in sections.
Now, could you have finished that a lot quicker had you stayed there for a week or two on it with no stop?
Yeah, but
Sure.
we weren't at a point in our lives that we
No.
could do that.
But
you know,
I'm just,
But yeah,
saying,
if
could
we
be
could,
done.
if we could have probably put in, he probably would say within 2 to 3 weeks, if he would have been able to stay up there for a solid 2 to 3 weeks, we would have had it done.
Right.
It just took us a couple months because we did it in chunks. You know, so
And that's typically
that's
how
okay.
a lot of projects go too.
Yeah.
Unless you're having somebody come in and do the project for you, where they can do something per se on the outside where they don't need access to the house. Because then you open up another can of worms. Do I want somebody in my house who, I mean, let's be honest, they may not have
not
your
there.
best interests in mind.
Yeah.
And it's always a crapshoot when you hire a contractor, whether it's down here or up there, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So when you find a good one, you stick with them
Oh, yeah.
and you ask them, well, okay, I'm tempted, just thinking about it now, I might call that plumber up and say, okay, can I increase your, charge for you to specifically come out this far?
right.
I mean, he hasn't moved his company.
But
It's just that business has gotten so good, he doesn't need to come out that far anymore.
oh, interesting. So hopefully, but because he's done work for you in the past,
I
hopefully
like the work
he
that
will
he did.
continue.
And
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
very reliable. I called him up on a Saturday because we were having a problem.
Wow.
And he called me. He didn't answer right away. Within 15 minutes, he called me right back.
See, that customer
You do
service,
not
I'm
get
telling
that.
you.
I mean, I can't even get that down here.
Yeah, I know. That customer service goes a long way, no
It
matter
sure
what.
does.
It does.
And
It does.
that's something that you have to think about too.
Yeah.
And so that's when you find something good, stick with it.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
might have to pay a little extra for it, but you got to weigh that in.
Well, talking about that, so we had those steps in because the property across the way has access to the river.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to necessarily use the easement if we want to. And it's a huge hill going down. Well, we needed steps to go in to be able, because you're not going to ride your butt down, right?
Right.
Matt's always talked about a grandma tran and putting in a tran, kind of thing. Well, yeah, that's a little expensive, so that ain't going to happen.
That didn't get off the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah, that did not happen. So we ended up hiring a company, and the guys were young, and it was pricey. But at the same time, I looked at Matt. I'm like, think of how long it took us to build the deck on the other property. These are steps on a very steep hill, and we had them do land steps. And the amount of work that needed to be done, we hired these guys, and
Right.
honestly, within a week, they were done.
Mhm.
Like, it was worth it, and the guys were, appreciative, and we, brought them water and did that kind of stuff. And luckily we have electricity on the property, so they could hook up their tools and all that
There's
stuff.
something to be said
But
about
wow,
paying
they were
somebody
good.
money for something that they do day in and day out
Yeah,
versus you and I going and trying to do something that we don't normally do.
yeah,
That we're kind of not so sure about.
Yeah.
And, especially, once again, thinking as you get older, I mean, I'm not, but you are, thinking about the fact that you may not be able to do the things that you were able to do it when you were younger.
oh yeah,
And
exactly. Exactly.
there are some days when it pays to
Pay
have
somebody else.
pay
Yeah.
somebody else to do that kind of work.
Well, and it comes down to prioritizing. You've
Right.
brought it up before.
Right.
It's really prioritizing the needs and the wants and what
Yeah.
you can do at that time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
do we have to have this? We'll save
Yep.
a little bit and do it at a later time.
Yep.
So, and that's where those renovations come in. All right. So, anything else you can think of that we haven't shared about a second home before we?
No, I'm sure there are
close
tons
on
of
that.
things
Oh,
that are out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I would just say to you, if I had one thing to leave you with on a second home, and hopefully you would agree with it, is that, do your homework.
Yeah.
Cannot tell you. I still probably have somewhere. I know my wife would tell you I probably do. Probably have somewhere the file of all of the stuff that I printed off for each of these individual houses that we would go and look at, and that we would, get the information on, and could probably tell you about, oh yeah, this was our second choice, this was a third choice, this was a no way, not ever going to happen type of place. Because some places, you had, and I will say this too, you have to go see them. Some places in the pictures on the computer, they look awesome. You get there, not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got to have somebody go
inside. You got to
inside.
go see.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you.
You got to tour it. You got to go through it, go in it.
Yeah.
But if I would, leave you with one thought on that, second home process, I would say do your homework on it. Talk to people that are, that have a second place. What are the things that they've found? What are the things that they look for? Yeah. Are you ready financially to make a commitment to that? Yeah. Because you are, and now with the housing market the way it is, understand that you're going to pay a little bit more for something that years ago was not so much.
Yeah, and even if it's not a second home, I know we started in a camper.
Yep.
Right? And just camping. But you got to think about your family, your immediate family, your significant other, what do you enjoy doing and how is that going to fit into it? And just making sure you're having your life balanced. Some people are like, you know what? I don't want a second home. I don't want to camp. I want to travel. And they'll do what they can, and they take a different trip every year and do that kind of thing as well. So you do what's best for you, but I guess the bottom line of having a second home is also just making sure that we have time to relax a little bit. That work hard, play hard attitude, right?
Yeah, because
is really important.
They do go hand in hand.
They do.
It's not an easy process.
Yeah.
If it was, there would be a lot more people that had second homes.
Exactly. But work hard, play hard, and do what's best for you. All right. So question giveaway. So we are going to give away a Dairy Queen gift card.
I'm going to win it.
For somebody that can just leave in the comments what this answer would be. So what was the score of the last game? When we're talking season game, not preseason game, what was the score of the last game between the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers? What was that score? And maybe even when was it played? And if you get the right answer, we will mail you this Dairy Queen gift card. All right. So to close out the show, before we close out the show, I should say, the last thing we're going to talk about is just a tip of the week.
Sure.
And you definitely are a lawn care guy. I mean, if there's anything to do with lawn care, you're normally my go-to guy.
Okay.
Because your lawn is just... It looks like out of a magazine a lot of times.
Okay.
I love
Appreciate it.
what you do with your lawns.
Okay. Appreciate it.
No matter what house you've been into, it's just gorgeous.
Sure.
So what tip of the week do you have for homeowners about lawn care?
Well, first off, have a lot of time. Have a lot of time. Enjoy being outside if that would be one thing for you. Because you gotta go outside to actually work on your lawn. It doesn't take care of itself. Granted, there are things that I've gotten older, I've pawned off to, like for example, fertilizing, especially, you gotta look at your property and see what, if you're on a flat piece of land, that's one thing. If you're on a piece of property that's got hills and mounds and everything else, as you get older, it's not so easy. Yeah. So, things like that. But I will say this, lawn care tip right now, if you're here in the state of Wisconsin, you know that we've been a little bit dry lately. Yeah, so
a little too dry.
You get into the dilemma of, do I water, do I not water? I've always gone with the theory on this. Currently in the house that I live in, we have a well. And we also have, with that well system, we also have a sprinkling system. Okay. So
I didn't realize you had a sprinkler system.
Yes. I allow, the sprinkler system to do the heavy lifting. Does that mean that sprinkler system gets everything? No, it does not, just because you have a sprinkling system. Some people have sprinkling systems that are just set up, in their gardens per se to keep their delicate flowers, bushes, etc. Some people have them for just other areas. Mine is a whole yard, but of that whole yard, it probably gets probably 85% of the yard.
Okay.
You know, there's only so much you can get to. Natural objects, get in the way of the sprinkler, and it doesn't get watered.
Yep.
So just like everybody else, it browns. Yeah. So one of the things to look at is, do I water? Do I not water? Again, I'm on a well system. You may be on city water.
Like we are.
And that gets you into a whole nother issue. Okay. Well system, I can pump my water. In the end, if something goes wrong, I may go out and the pump on the end of that pipe in the water, down in the ground, that well pump may go. Happened to my neighbor just 2 weeks ago. And I asked him, because I saw the guy there, and I'm like, well, what happened? What's going on? Right. And he told me, the well pump went, and he has a sprinkling system too, and it was a $3,500 fix. So please don't think that there's no cost associated with having a well system and having city water, because when that well does take a chance and does go on you, there's a cost.
Yeah.
So, and then there's obviously all the things that are inside, to go along with that. But, for me, it's easy. I sprinkle. I water the grass.
Uh-huh.
If I have city water, okay, do I look at it? Some cities, unlike where you live,
right,
can offer sprinkling meters.
Mm-hmm.
Going back into my old days of high school, college, when I worked for a water department,
mm-hmm.
You can have some communities will install sprinkling only meters, where those meters are not charged the sewer rate.
Oh.
The reason why your bill would go high is because they are not only charging you for the water, but they are also charging you to discharge that water, which is the sewer rate.
Yep.
And there you go.
Yeah. We don't water, and it's killing Matt because our grass is really brown.
Right.
But we've talked, like, we live in Wisconsin, so the grass tends to go dormant, right? Yes. I mean, it will come back. It will come back.
It does go dormant. I would suggest this to you: if you decide, to water, and you're on city water, be smart about it. Do I have to water every day? What are we looking at as far as, usually when you check with numbers and so forth, I believe it's in the neighborhood of around an inch a week of water that your lawn would need.
Gotcha.
Can you put that out in, 24 hours? Sure, you probably could, running it all day, all night. Probably.
Exactly.
I wouldn't suggest it.
Oh, no. Trust me, the bill will be too expensive.
Right. I mean, the best time that, for watering is probably, in the darker hours of the day.
I was just going to say, isn't it like
nighttime, early morning?
So that way so it doesn't evaporate in the heat, right?
The heat doesn't evaporate it as fast.
Yeah.
And, there are some that believe early morning is probably the best. Some, especially with some plants and so forth, getting, moisture on them at night can cause problems, fungal problems with them. So it all depends on what you want to do. But again, like anything else that we've talked about tonight, do your homework on it. What kind of system do you have? How much water will it take? Do I have a small yard? Do I have a big yard? What is essential for me to keep? Realize that what is brown possibly today, you go back to last week, we got an inch of rain in one day, things greened up pretty fast.
Yeah, they did, which shocked me. I mean,
right. But now, again, we're not, if we stay on this pattern, where we don't get much rain in between, it browns a little bit. But again, it will come back, and soon enough, rains will be here in a regular fashion.
Yeah.
Come fall, I'm sure that we will be dealing with excess of water, and so forth. And again, next spring. But it's something just to look at. I would, the last thing, and I know you and I talked about this earlier, is that if you decide to water, I would suggest to you, continue the water.
Yeah.
Like anything, I think that your yard gets used to it. And I think that if you start watering and then you don't and you stop, I think that things...
That actually would.
Do I have scientific information on that?
Yeah.
No. I've just seen where it's better off to leave it without or to give it. And there really isn't much in between that I've seen.
Right. Okay. right.
Because like we said, grass will go dormant. It will come back.
Yeah. With all the plants, they do come back after winter. Unfortunately, we have winter, which, hey, it's snow, it's water,
Yep.
So at some point, the plants that we have around the house are going to
The other thing that I would make a quick mention to you about is
go
if
ahead.
you're going to leave that grass go dormant and your grass is really burnt out and really, you walk on it and there's a crunch, can I make a suggestion to you out there? Please don't, if we get a bunch of rain and it greens all up nice, great. Then go ahead and cut it. But if it's dormant and it's browned up, because you go and you drive that tractor, lawn tractor, et cetera, on there, when it's all burnt and, so forth, it actually does leave marks in the grass where you have been, because it will then kill, in a lot of cases, that grass.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's why Matt has to head up north, because we've gotten actually more rain up in Florence than we have here. The grass is greener up there and it needs to be cut. I can't tell you the last time Matt cut the grass here because we're not watering it.
Yep.
So
you're better off just leaving it be. I know it looks ungodly, unsightly, et cetera, but it's a delicate thing. Do I go out on it? Do I put money into watering it, feeding it, et cetera? We haven't even delved into that issue of whether or not to have it fertilized.
Yeah, that'll be the next time. Maybe you can join us another time
well,
when we talk about fertilizing.
I've had an awesome time. Would love to come back and do a show with you.
Well, thank you. All right, so there's your tip of the week with lawn care. Just be careful. Water it or don't water it. Make that choice. Right?
Right.
All right. Wonderful. Well, believe it or not, that is the show. It is. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks
it
for
was
having
a
me.
great
I appreciate it.
conversation. I appreciate you. And we are actually on vacation next week. So we will be back in August. Basically, the message I'm leaving you for July is get outside and enjoy your summer, you guys. Remember, the better you take care of your house, the better it will take care of you. We'll see you in August. Thank you.